Hello everyone, Monty here, and today's chat is entitled, If You Think You Can or You Think You Can't, You're Right. And I got this idea for this chat because there was a reorg in my company and our group name changed, the group that I'm in at my company that I work at, and the VP asked us to put our favorite quote below our signature line on our email. So for me that was easy. I love the Henry Ford's quote, if you think you can and you think you can't, you're right. And I really believe this. And I'm going to share something kind of personal with you that maybe some of you may find very hard to believe. But I think I lean more towards a negative person. But I appear to everybody as very positive because my mind first goes to the negativity, but then I talk myself out of it. So there's all these Tony Robbins technique that I tell you that I always use, that pain and pleasure principle, also known as leverage, about talking to yourself and talking yourself out of doing something bad. Well, when I go to a negative space, it's like really weird. When I start a new project or something bad happens, I get like so overwhelmingly negative. And I think part of it is genetic, right? Because I know my brother was like that, my dad was like that. My mother, on the other hand, is total opposite. She always sees the glass, not half full, all the way full. She's always happy. Even in tragedy, she sees the brighter side of every situation. And I've been working on it. I think I'm a little bit better, but I really believe, and people probably won't agree with me on this, I think some of it's genetic, right? But the good news is, I believe we can control this. So even though my mind may go right into the negative and I may like freak out and go, oh my God, I pull myself out of it right away. I catch myself immediately. And I do that through the techniques of talking to myself. And, you know, in the theme of this chat, if you think you can and you think you can't, you're right. I love that expression, is you have to think that you can achieve something. And I used to always say in chats long ago, if you can perceive it, you can achieve it. And I think that's really important. And I think back to all the things that I said out loud, you know, that like really stupid stuff like, oh, I saw somebody who had this car once. I said, I'm going to have that car. I'm going to buy that car someday. It wasn't until 3 years later and I bought that car. I think saying things out loud makes them real, like affirmations and visualization. There's another good book called Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawan. And don't ask me to spell Shakti. I think it's Shakti, and I think it's Gwain, but I could be wrong. Anyway, it's a book that I read that I really loved, and I use a lot of visualization techniques, like not just for like the weight loss when I was overweight and I wanted to really get into good shape, but also for success and for making money and progressing in my career. I think that, you know, you have to really be able to visualize in your head and see yourself, you know, as successful, doing whatever you're trying to be successful at, whether it's making money, whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting into shape, whether it's getting a promotion at work. You know, and again, if you think you can or you think you can, you're right. You have to start thinking you can. And I know sometimes it's really hard, especially in this time of, you know, Corona, how difficult everything is. And so, you know, that people are losing their job. I was very worried about my job, because my project that I'm currently on is ending at the end of June, and the way it works is in my new company that I've only been at for a year, my other companies, it wasn't like this. As soon as you stop billing, they give you like 3 to 5 weeks, and then you get let go if you don't keep making the money. So right now I'm on a project, I'm making the money, there's no way they're gonna lay me off, but I was worried that come June 30th, when this project is over, if I don't find another project, I'm gonna be laid off, because a couple of my friends have gotten laid off. So, luckily, I was able to prove my value in certain things, and this other project, they want me like right away. They really need help. I'm kind of helping them part-time a little bit right now, and then come the first week of July, I will start on this other project. So, you know, I want to talk about that for a moment. So, talk about, you know, people being worried about their job and making money, and I've talked about in other chats how I have been, you know, given up a large part of my life to get where I am today. I was working and traveling every single week as a traveling consultant. I was flipping houses. I flipped like 7 houses. I've been and working full time and traveling, and I gave up a lot of my life. I didn't go out with friends hardly ever. I did have some relationships, but you know, it's been 2.5 years now, and I haven't had a relationship just because I don't have the time, and I haven't Well, I haven't made the time, excuse me. I put other things at a higher priority. And so when Corona happened, I said, oh my God, I wasn't worried about paying my bills because I have a lot of investments, but again, they're investments, things invested long term that I would lose money. And, also that's my retirement. I gave up so much of my life so I could retire and have a nice life in retirement. I had this big game plan and I thought Corona could take it all away. So I said to myself, okay, you're so into that, you think you can, you think you can't. I think I can fix this. I can do something to ensure that I'm always going to be billable and that I'm always going to be, in a very less chance of me getting laid off. So that's when I talked about how Corona, it'll make you or break you, and that, basically I wanted to say, I've got all this time right now. I'm going to take advantage of this time. I learned a new application called Jira Portfolio. I'm learning another one right now called Jira Align, which is kind of like portfolio reporting for what I do is right now I'm doing agile coaching, transformation coaching for software development for very large corporations. And I just got my SAFe certification, which is Scaled Agile Framework certification, which is being certified in one type of agile methodology. I'm already certified in the other one. And it's so funny because as I went through the certification and learned these portfolio applications, I found out this other customer who happens to be in the healthcare industry, which is going very strong right now, obviously, and that they need somebody like my talents, and I just basically talked to the project team and was able to get put on there. So, I put on my I think I can turn this all to my advantage hat, and I was able to get the skills that made me desirable for another project. And this other one's long term. It's going to be at least 6 months to a year. So probably if I play my cards right, I know I'll be billable for another year. And hopefully a year from now we'll be back into, I'm hoping a year from now we'll be back to quasi-normal existence. So one of the things, if you think you can, you just can't think you can. You have to do lots of things to make that happen. When you think you can, you've got to employ visualization techniques. What will it look like, for you to reach your goal and to be successful, and visualize it. How would you feel about yourself? How do you think other people would perceive you? And then visualize, you getting to that point that you feel is successful in whatever your goal is, and visualize what you think you would have to do to get there. And then another thing I talked about also was, because you just can't say, I think I can, and it's all going to magically happen, right? And then you have to, tomorrow I'm going to try and do, if it's not tomorrow, I'll do it the next day, my chat on goal setting. I did it a long time ago, and I actually did it about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I couldn't get off. My other phone had an issue, and it got deleted. But anyway, I'm going to do a chat on goal setting, because I'm really big into doing goal setting and timelines. And I've set a couple of goals for myself, and I'm tracking them, and I'll show you how I do that. And I think it's really, really, really important. And I think a lot of the times why people, are not a success at whatever goal, whatever they're trying to do. Again, weight loss, health, saving money, getting a promotion at a job. I think the number one thing, especially with weight and working, weight loss and working out, is people don't give anything enough time. It's I always talk about it takes 21 days to form a habit, and some people it's longer. I don't think it's really shorter for anybody. And that you can change your taste buds in 21 days. They regenerate in 21 days. I think it takes 21 days to something, that's kind of difficult to start not being so difficult, right? Like cooking healthy or exercising every day. Some studies says it takes 21 days. Some studies I've read could take up to a year, because everybody's different. You just can't say, it's going to be 21 days. Everyone is different. But most people give up, and they give up too soon. And it's like New Year's resolutions. I read another article that by February 17th, like 80% of all New Year's resolutions are chucked away. So they only gave it like 6 weeks, and then that's, they gave up, right? Which is 6 weeks is not a long time to see a major change. If it's working out or your diet or saving money, or it's just not, or to see get a job promotion. 6 weeks is not enough time. And I think people give up. I think also people are not being structured. They don't do goal setting, and they don't check every month or every, I think you should do it at least every month or every week, or check on their goal and see how they're doing and make adjustments in their plan if it's not working. I'll talk about some of the things that I've done to get to my goals that I've been working on for the last couple of months. And I think also working on it by doing visualization techniques, like you'll read about in creative visualization. I don't have a problem saying that word, visualization. Visualization. I have a problem saying it. That book, Creative Visualization by Shakti Kwan. They don't do the visualization techniques, which really, I believe, really helps. Again, I always use that saying, if you can perceive it, you can achieve it. But everything in life, to be successful, you're going to have to work at it. You just can't say, I'm going to do it, and it's all going to happen. And I think it's another thing I always say is, people, when they go on a new endeavor, I've noticed this, I've coached a lot of people with losing weight and working out, and they say, oh, well, I'm so excited, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be great. And I'm like, no. It's not going to be great. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard. And I think that's what people have, unrealistic expectations. They get all excited and they just see all the good things and they're like, oh shit, this is hard. Yeah, it is hard. But I always say you got to choose your heart in life, right? And it's hard getting up every morning and working out or doing it right after work. It's hard cooking your food and eating healthy when you go out and there's all this bad food everywhere and there's all this junk food that will take 2 minutes to open a package or something when cooking would take you 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes to cook a meal. But you got to choose your heart. So it may be hard to cook everything, it may be hard to work out every day, but it's also really hard to be overweight and out of shape. It's also hard to take medication because you've got some disease because you're not eating healthy or working out. So I always say you got to choose your heart. And it all boils down to, one thing. You've got to really believe and say to yourself, and that if I think I can, I can. Because if I think I can't, I can't, right? You have to get that can't out of your head. And, going back to what I said earlier, we all have negative thoughts. I think, I definitely lean much more towards negative than positive. But the difference is I pick myself up and I talk myself out of it. And I do a lot of self-talk. Every time I start a new project where I don't have the skill sets, I go, oh my God, I go in these awful places. I go, oh my God, this is gonna be so difficult. I don't know how to do this and they're making me do this. And then I say, you know what? I'll Google it, I'll YouTube it, I'll buy books. I go on Amazon, I'll buy a book. I'm not stupid, I'll figure it out, right? Somebody learned how to do this before, I'll learn it too, and I talk myself out of it, right? And I really believe we have to all really start talking to ourselves on a consistent basis to stay on a positive note, especially when we've got so much stress and anxiety with coronavirus and our lives have changed so drastically. So remember, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So start thinking you can. Even when you start thinking you can't, shift the other way and say, I think I can, because you can. And I hope you'll use some of these techniques to get yourself on a positive track. Even in this time of Corona, you can still do a lot to help start a new regime for health, whatever it is, health, fitness, diet, finances. Just remember, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.